Good morning, everyone. This morning, the presentation is essentially addressed to all the Igbo people, but through Mazi Chuka, Naji, and Father Angelo Unemu. I suppose Father Angelo Chidi Unemu, a Catholic priest of Igbo extraction, was addressed by Mazi Chuka Naji. And the text of the address is, in summary, students were given a rule not to speak Igbo language in the class. Somewhere, I don't know the place, some students of Igbo extraction were told not to speak Igbo language. And Mazi Chuka Naji complained about this and tagged this Catholic priest who speaks up for African culture. Let me call a spade a spade. Probably he has changed, but as far as I know, I have told him time and time again, I have corrected him. Stop bothering about Africa, bother about the Igbos. You don't know much about Africa. And on more than one occasion, he has responded that he believes that the fate of the Igbos is tied to the fate of Africa. Sorry, he doesn't know Africa, neither does he know the Igbos. But I saw this as an opportunity to further wake up the Igbos. And I will say before I go further, if you observe, most of my videos don't reach 1,000 persons. So they are not messages for today. They are messages for when the Igbo people are ready. When God sent Moses to the people of Israel, the people were barely ready. But today, a little percentage of the Israelites can understand what Moses was saying. And they are using those things that Moses said to order their lives. And we have seen some good results in some places. When Theodor Herzl, the great Jewish patriot, let me call him a patriot, organized the Zionists in Europe, he knew that the Zionists at his time would not be able to carry out his mission. But he laid out the groundwork for the mission. And 50 years later, the result manifested. 50 years after his death, the result manifested. The Ashkenazi Jews, whose ancestors were removed from the land of Israel 2,000 years before, and they were helpless wherever they found themselves, unable to defend themselves, were able to organize themselves, take control of a portion of that land that their ancestors lived in. And ultimately, we are able to get the world to agree that that territory, which their people were in, deserved to be a state. And when they became a state, they gathered the resources and were able to defend themselves. But when Theodor Herzl was prophesying, he knew that his basic contemporaries then would not be able to do much, but that the people coming after them may be able to do those things that he envisioned. Likewise, my messages are not for the present-day Igbos. If they are for the present-day Igbos, every video I make, 30 million Igbos will follow that video. But even my closest associates, men and defenders, most of them don't even share my videos because they don't understand what I'm saying. So the point I'm trying to make is, the Igbos don't know where they are, both in Nigeria and in the world. That is why I urge them every day to take the history of the ancient Israelites very seriously and to take the history of the Jews very seriously. Because if they take these two strands of history seriously, they will begin to even understand themselves. If this directive was given anywhere outside the Igbo land, I don't know what Igbos are expecting. I don't know what Igbos are expecting. Igbos are thinking that the laws of Nigeria means that they have become equal stakeholders in territories outside Igbo land. The laws of Nigeria, that's what they think. The laws of Nigeria only become applicable against the poor and against the Igbos. The laws are not meant to be obeyed, except if they have to be enforced against Nigeria. I mean, against the Igbos and against the poor. But Igbos don't seem to know this. So what should Igbos do as a temporary measure if this directive was given outside Igbo land, but in Nigeria? Igbos in those territories, in the territories outside Igbo land, should ensure that their children speak Igbo at home and that they begin to develop private schools which will allow their children to speak Igbo. And then Igbos should take the Igbo language in Igbo land very seriously, just as Igbos should take Igbo land very seriously. And of course, Igbos will not be able to take Igbo land very seriously if the religions that the Igbos adhere to do not force the Igbo people to begin to shun all forms of evil. I mean, all forms of evil. One little evil leads to the other, leads to big evils. I do not think that anybody in the world needs to be told what is wrong. But if you are waiting to be told, what is wrong, that's a discussion for another day. When the Igbos reorder their lives, begin to live clean lives, they will be able to take Igbo land seriously and be developed in their land. Their land can contain them. People look at Nigeria now and think that the present palace situation of Nigeria is driving Igbos away, but no. Igbos had begun to flee from Igbo land before Nigeria got to this stage that it is in. Even before I was born, Igbos had stopped making efforts to make Igbo land the best place in the world because of ephemeral gains. And you could count me among the guilty. There was no systematic, deliberate effort for us to turn Igbo land into what the Ashkenazi Jews led the other Jews to turn the land of Israel into. When the Ashkenazi Jews led other Jews to return to the land of Israel, it was desert and rubble. It was pure desert. There was nothing. Because their ancestors and our own ancestors left the land 2,000 years ago. You can imagine a land abandoned for 2,000 years, what it will be like. You read about Jerusalem today, read about Tel Aviv, see skyscrapers every day, everywhere, see massive thoroughfares, well-paved roads, and you think this was existent at the turn of between the 19th and the 20th centuries. No, people were still moving around then in camels. But because there were people who took the instructions of God, Moses, Hazel seriously, they laid a foundation for a country that its economy is among the 15 largest economies in the world, even though its population is only 10 billion. The message is also for Peter Obi. Thinking that your properties in Lagos or your brother's properties in Lagos will be protected shows that you are still thinking that because there is a construct called Nigeria, that you are Nigerian and not Igbo. I wish you the best. But if we are to face reality, the Igbo should look at Nigerian history very well in order to understand himself. And if you feel that this video is beneficial, hit the subscribe button. Share it widely. Ask your friends to subscribe to this channel. The people that Igbos call Ozibondu don't even know who the Igbos are. But they call them Ozibondu. But they don't even know who the Igbos are. Those people they are calling Ozibondu. I am not an Ozibondu. But I am telling the Igbos what will save the Igbos. And those things that will save the Igbos are those things I'm saying here. The Igbos have to rediscover themselves in order to be able to discover Chukwu, their God. When they rediscover Chukwu, their God, they will do what Chukwu principally told Moses, principally called the Menana. Those things you find in the Hebrew Bible. And God will save the Igbos again. And on this note, I say, have a very beautiful rest of the day. Thank you.